Hi, my name is Barry Sahajian, and today I'm going to look at a classical piece. A classical piece that I arranged for bass. So anyways, when I was looking at this, I was saying, what's going on? I mean, I don't know classical music, how they analyze and think about their pieces of music. I exist in jazz, and everything I do, and when I analyze a song, it's always relative to jazz. And this is a new era now. I mean, when I was younger, in academia, it was all classical music. Jazz was a dirty word. They didn't even know what it was. And you think about it, it was just developed in the 30s, the language of jazz and everything. So I embraced that. Jazz is the thing for me because it gave me the ability to analyze all music in a jazz sense. And that's what I did to this, Rondo Alla Turca, tuned by Mozart, created in 1783. And what amazed me the most when I was looking at it, it's an A-A-B-B form. 8, 8, 16, and 16. So I said, what I'm used to in jazz is an A-A-B form. So I eliminated the second B, and now I have a 32 measure form, A-A-B, which is jazz, which I'm familiar with. It makes things a lot easier. So it's a 32 measure A-A-B form. The A is repeated twice, 8 and 8 is 16, and then the B would be the bridge sort of, and that would be 16 measures as well. 16 and 16 is 32 measures. What perplexes me is Mozart was thinking in sections like that, but what they didn't have, and Mozart didn't have, and all the other classical, they didn't have improvisation. Improvisation belongs to jazz, spontaneous creation. My professional background is mostly from R&B, blues, rock, jazz, and funk. I'm going to analyze Rondo Alla Turca, but I'm going to analyze it from a jazz point of view, the way a jazz player would look at the lines. And so the first thing I see, this is in A minor, and that's agreeable. I looked it up and Googled it, and that's what most people seem to think. It's in A minor, but one step further, it's an A minor, an A harmonic minor scale that it's using. In an A harmonic minor scale, you have the flat 3, of course, you have the flat 6, and you have the major 7. Sounds a little like this. That scale is almost exclusively used in Rondo Alla Turca. There's one spot where they put a chromatic approach to the 5th, which is an E flat, and it would be a flat 5, and that's, I would consider that just an approach note, not really from the scale. So right now, I'd like to break down the first 3 measures, and the first 3 measures is very much what happens in jazz frequently. It is called using an enclosure, approaching the note from above and below of an arpeggio. In this case, it's an A minor arpeggio. So the first note would be A, and it's approached from above, and then it hits the note, and then from below by a half step. And then it goes up to the minor 3rd and does the same thing. Diatonic approach from above, which is the D, and then to the C, which is the minor 3rd, and then a half step below the C, which is a B, back to the C. Now we're on to the 5th. It does the same thing. Diatonically, you have to approach that E with an F step above, and then you go to the 5th, which is an E, then a half step below, back to the E. Now we're up an octave. We're going to do the same thing we did on the lower octave and approach the A, the root of the A minor chord. So you have a whole step above to the A, the root, and then a half step below, back to the A. And you repeat it twice. And it ends with a C, the minor 3rd, and that's the whole line. I'll play it a little faster for you. So right now, I'd like to turn Rondo Alla Turca into a jazz line. How am I going to do that? I don't want to make it sound bad, so I have an idea. I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to ruin the song, I don't want to insult Wolfgang. He'll be rolling over in his grave. I turned it into jazz and I made it sound like crap. No. Here's what I'm going to do. So I don't want to piss Wolfie off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play just the first 4 measures because they will work perfectly in jazz because they so much resemble approach notes, as I explained earlier. A diatonic approach from above, which will be a B to an A, and that's the root of the A minor. And then we hit the root, and then we hit a half-step approach from below the A back to the A. He has one more note. I'm going to eliminate that note and the rest, so all we have is... I'm going to do the same thing to the next note, which sort of targets the third. This sort of targets the third. And then the same thing to the 5th. And then the root again. Now what I'm going to do is as I explained, I've eliminated one note and the rest. So I'm going to put them all together and it's going to sound like this. That happens to be a perfect 2 measures. I turn it into 1/8 notes, and it's now 2 measures. So we have a line we can use for a lick, or beginning of a solo, or just by itself. And we need to have an A minor under that. It'll work perfectly because we're targeting the root, the minor third, the 5th, and then the root again. And it turns out to be an even number of measures. Keeps the meter right in line. 2 measures. Now we ascend and descend, and we'll turn it into 4 bars. Of course, we can even take it a step further. We can double it up a little bit, something like this. And we can descend using that same approach. Amazing. I hope Wolfie doesn't get too mad at me, and excuse me for using a nickname. I'm sure he may have been called that. I'm guessing he may have been called that as a child, or who knows, close friend. Wolfie, you wrote a new song? Fantastic! So that's all for this. You can go to my Patreon page and download the music I just played and everything else here. I apologize for insulting anybody from the classical. My whole occupation with music is pop, jazz, funk, rock, country even at times. So, thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed it, got something out of it. Visit my Patreon page to download all these ideas and the notation and play-alongs. And come by again. I enjoyed your company.